Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good morning so far. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for From Raw Data to Real Insights, Lessons from Building a Data-Driven Organization. Well, I'm Rachel Sanders, and I've been in the healthcare industry for over 25 years now, and that includes experience on the clinical side, many years in the beginning on the revenue side, and also the technical support side. Although training has always been an aspect in some way in every position I've held. I used to be a BI customer, but now I am part of our business intelligence team.
And I'm Evan Delcamp. I've been with Trinity Health Michigan Medical Group for almost 4 years now. I got my bachelor in business administration from Eastern Michigan, and I'm currently a data science master's at University of Michigan. So some of the projects I have worked on include provider messaging, patient access, and office collections.
So just a little bit about us. We are Trinity Health Michigan Medical Groups, THMMG, and we started as IHA, which is Integrated Health Associates, and we evolved into providing services for Trinity Health's primary care and multi-specialty medical groups across the state. Last year, our organization served over 947,000 patients. We have over 250 office locations serving communities in Washtenaw, Livingston, Lenawee, Oakland, and Western Wayne on the east side of the state, and then Allegan, Kent, Ottawa, and Muskegon counties on the west side. And together we have over 60 specialties. And our business intelligence department was initiated in 2017, but over the years we have grew to a team of 15, one of them officially joining just in the last couple weeks, but we also are growing. Now, some of the insights that we are going to discuss today, we did learn at IHA, but we are now applying them to Trinity Health West Michigan.
Okay, so before we take you through the lessons that we learned while building this data-driven organization that we have, I want to talk about the original state that IHA was in before we implemented all these strategies. So these are kind of things that many of you in the audience are likely familiar with, but we were lacking insights on business performance. Reports were limited to vendor applications. So for example, if you have phone data and appointment data, and you want to kind of combine that data to see how often when a patient calls do they actually schedule an appointment, that's very difficult to do. Has anyone in the audience ever worked with multiple systems and you're trying to combine data from them and the locations don't line up and nothing lines up the way it should? It's very difficult. Additionally, we had no cross-organizational goals and metrics. So it was difficult to compare things across the organization in, as we like to say, an apples-to-apples fashion. So we also had difficulty viewing trends in performance over time. We had a lot of cases of users constantly dumping things into Excel, trying to make sure everything lined up right and that your graphs updated correctly. And I'm sure everyone in this audience knows what kind of problems that can cause. There was no one focusing on data and analytics in the organization. It was an extra responsibility for the IT department. They'll kind of get to it when they get to it. It can take weeks or even months to get reporting that users desperately needed. So, how do we start solving these problems? We started with building a centralized business intelligence team. A centralized business intelligence team is a dedicated team for addressing data and insight needs across the entire organization. We are individuals that can focus on building an enterprise data warehouse and clear organization-wide tools. Now imagine you have two people. One person that occasionally builds a dashboard every few months and helps out with analytics, and one person that focuses on building dashboards and reports every day of their career. Which one's going to build better dashboards? Of course, the one doing it every day. So that's what a centralized business intelligence department allows you to do. Additionally, with this centralized department, we could prioritize or have analytics prioritization across the organization. So since we see all of the data and analytics requests, we can figure out what were the top priorities for the organization and dedicate our resources effectively. We're also able to categorize reports. Has anyone worked with a software or a reporting system where everything's in random places, you're looking for a report, but you have no idea where to find it, and it's very difficult to find? With the centralized BI department, that's not as much of an issue. We have time and the resources to categorize everything by customer, by what the report actually is, and that helps a lot with that usage. We're also able to solicit feedback. So constantly working with our users of our reporting to determine if the reports are still accurate and still useful. Basically, a BI department wants to free the data, prevent information that would otherwise be siloed from non-technical users, and get it into the hands of those non-technical users. And once they have that data, a BI department can focus on evolving that data literacy and making sure that users can and want to use those reports. We are able to build a data catalog of definitions so that everyone across the organization is using the same definition. And when someone says the name of a metric, everybody knows what that means. We also found with our department that it's very important to be proactive about innovation. Really take that time to focus on new tools and new technologies, things like machine learning, AI, and chatbots, even building dashboards on the fly. A lot of these things are still in their infancy stage in our department, but they're definitely in our future plans. So, for those of you who might be thinking, how do I get started with a business intelligence department? We started by really aligning expectations with our leadership, making sure that the value that we provide to the organization was what they expected, and we could work with the customers to define the data areas that we were working with. We're currently doing that process with our West Michigan group. So as we built out our business intelligence department, we learned that it's very important to clearly define the difference between business intelligence and a subject matter expert. With all of those responsibilities that business intelligence already has, it doesn't really make sense. It's not really appropriate to also have them be the experts on financial data or HR data. Business intelligence isn't directly working with those areas on a day-to-day basis. We're not up to date with the exact latest changes. We might work on a dashboard for a while, get it to a really good place, and then not have to touch it for 6 months. So since we aren't the ones actually using the reports, it made a lot of sense to define a business subject matter expert that was kind of the point person for that information. So, business intelligence has the skills and technologies and expertise in those skills and technologies in business intelligence. Things like dashboards and visualizations. We're working with the subject matter expert to translate those business problems into technical requirements, but we aren't the ones deciding what the metrics would be and what would be important. We're also focused on designing and architecting the enterprise data warehouse, and we develop and maintain extract, transform, load, and refresh processes. On the other hand, a subject matter expert has knowledge and expertise in a specific area: financial data, HR, clinical operations, everything like that. They're defining these metrics that our department builds. They're the go-to person for information on a particular topic. They know the business processes, data systems, and the challenges in their department. And they are using these tools to interpret the meaning and make the decisions, along with leadership. One of the cool things we found with this setup is that SMEs can help with data validation. Has anyone in the audience ever built a report and had a customer look at it, find one problem, and dismiss the report entirely? This was a big problem for us and many organizations. But having that point SME person that's validating the report early in its stages really helped with that issue. They also, that SME can build trust in that data for the people in their department. So with that, I'll let Rachel take it away with the next lesson.
So we have a BI team, and we have a clear vision, but our data was spread across multiple systems using different definitions. We needed a centralized source that unifies all of our data into that unified view. So that led to the creation of our enterprise data warehouse. Now, does anyone have or have you ever worked with an EDW here? Okay. Now, would you say your EDW made you feel like it was a black hole of confusion or a treasure chest of insights? Oh. Well, we don't feel that way about ours. So in our organization, we use SQL Server Integration Services and SQL Server Management Studio to build and manage our enterprise data warehouse, and we have discovered numerous benefits of having an EDW. So we have that centralized data storage. Our data is consistent, and it serves as that single source of truth for our organization. Currently, we have about 25 different sources, but we are not limited. There's room for more. And we have that enhanced data quality. Our data is consistent, it's been transformed, it's cleaned, it's standardized. We have structured historical data, thanks to our amazing development team. And fields that contain the same data, but are named differently in all the source systems, use one naming convention within our EDW. And we also have efficient query performance. Our EDW is really designed to handle all the complex querying and reporting that our customers request. We can handle large volumes of data that allow for trend analysis and long-term reporting. And we have informed decision making. By having data in one place, our decision makers can access accurate and consistent information, which leads to better decision making. It's also easier to perform advanced analytics that can offer deeper insights. So essentially, you can have several reports that use a metric from one table and they all have the same result. And another benefit is the code for that metric that's spread across all those reports only has to be maintained in one place. Also for our finance department, we combine a numerator from our GL data, which is from one source, and a denominator from our charge data, which is our EMR system, to create a metric that tracks what we actually get paid per charge. Now, our EDW has really given us the ability to provide streamlined, accurate, and timely data for more informed decisions and for better reporting within our organization. Teams can collaborate more effectively knowing that they're working from the same data and using the exact same metrics.
So, IHA had realized we needed to build an enterprise data warehouse for a while. But the first few times we attempted that, it kind of stalled out. This led us to realizing the importance of leadership buy-in. With that leadership support and making sure that we got that leadership support to be building this enterprise data warehouse, business intelligence was able to focus on critical projects like building that out and delegate non-priority tasks. No longer was building an EDW a secondary task compared to fulfilling daily IT requests. Additionally, it also allowed BI to align the work with the organizational goals. Leadership has so much context of what's necessary in the organization and what's important right now. In business intelligence, it's hard to know whether it's more important to build out a financial report or an HR report. But leadership can tell you what that priority needs to be. Supportive leadership can also appoint SMEs, which helps with that validation and that trust in the data, as I talked about earlier. They also bring an expectation for data use with their staff. They're essentially like a marketing team for your products that you're putting out in your reports. Of course, in order for the leadership to function as that marketing team, they have to have the trust in that data. we built a lot of the trust in that data using this next tool, which we called the BI Advisory Group. The BI Advisory Group is a team of executive leadership from multiple departments within our organization that regularly meets with BI. During these meetings, we can demonstrate tools to them, and that really helped leadership champion the use of data, dashboards, and the self-service tools that we had available. It leads to kind of an iterative approach. These leaders have so much context for what the data should look like and what information they're looking to gain from it, that they can really say, oh, well, now that we see that that metric's built like that, we want it to be a little different here or a little different there. They also were able to provide us with that prioritization of large-scale projects. Should we focus on HR or finance data? They can make that determination much better than we can. Additionally, they helped with removing obstacles that would prevent us from delivering information. For example, a chief technology officer is able to help make sure you have access to the tools that you need. Python for a strategy map, Power BI, and everything functioning appropriately with it. They can help with that. Basically, this group was executive sponsors that could build trust, appoint those SMEs, and alert teams about upcoming reporting so that they could have questions ahead of time that helped us build better initial reports.
Okay, so now we have our team, we have our vision, a growing enterprise data warehouse, and now we have leadership endorsement and the support we need, but how can we make sure our data is being used? A lot of these insights are confined within our EDW. So how do we free that data? How do we unlock that treasure chest of insights? How do we get our data into more hands of our business users? But also, how do you keep your non-technical users engaged? Oops, wrong way. It started over? I had it upside down, sorry guys. Okay. Well, we've learned that a strong foundation is needed for engaging staff and empowering them to use data both confidently and effectively in their decision-making processes. So originally, a lot of our data was trapped in ad hoc requests that BI would have to put together. And we quickly learned that as we gain success and we gain that trust, we were going to get more requests than our team was capable of fulfilling. So we began developing our self-serve tools. It was actually time to free that data. But we also understood the importance of building a strong data literate user base that could use our self-serve tools to answer questions on their own. The greater skills of ours that we could multiply, the more the organization will actually use the data. And with users accessing the data on their own, that reduces the time spent waiting for us to generate something for them. Who here likes depending on others to get the information that you need? Now, our self-serve tools include a few SQL Server analysis services, tabular models, Power BI, SQL Server reporting services. And I have to say that our users have a very diverse level of skills when it comes to data tools. Being in a large organization, we always have turnover and growth. So we always have brand new users mixed in with what we consider our super users. So is that a mix that many of you are familiar with or have experience with? So some of the tips that we have learned for keeping users engaged in the self-service tools are to keep metrics simple. Even the non-technical users can interpret simple metrics, and it helps with better adoption and a better user experience. It's also easier for us to maintain them and for us to align them across different teams. We also learn to avoid overwhelming them with excessive data. Users are more likely to stay engaged with content that they feel is manageable and less likely to become frustrated when they're looking at things that may not pertain to them. So a method that we've used is we've created perspectives within our tabular models, and that is basically, it's a filtered view of the available tables and measures that the users have to select from. It filters out all the fields that may not pertain to their job role or their job responsibility. Also in Power BI, we've limited workspace assignment based on user role or their position. And we also review the available content on a regular basis. Are there metrics we can retire? Are there fields no longer used? Maybe we can repurpose them. Do we need to add fields? And then, of course, there's support and training. And I would have to say that it is very important to meet users where they are at. We often host tailored one-on-one training to support that user in a manner that works for them. Gradually building that knowledge helps with what they are absorbing, and it helps just reduce that frustration they may have. The other thing is, as they interact with data tools on their own, they are more likely to come up with innovative solutions, or they are more likely to discover content that might not be obvious to leadership or to the data teams. Like they might just discover, they might just discover, like, trying to think of the word I'm trying to say.
Flexibility,
yeah.
a lot of support or
yes,
creativity.
Yes. Sorry.
Right? Kind of
yes.
the stuff we were talking about in the keynote, right?
Yes. But I have to say that one of our biggest achievements was providing a self-serve tool that the user does not need to understand coding, and they don't need to understand the structure of the underlying data, but a tool that is also flexible. So I mentioned that we have a few SSAS tabular models, and our users access this through Excel. Now this is a live connection. It's refreshed daily. And here we've shown you a quick look. On the left there is the code that's needed to produce one of our top metrics, which is attributed lives. And then on the right is how our end users go in and pull that same value. So you can see how flexible the tool is and how they can choose how they want to see the data. So they're pulling their metric down. They can choose a field however they want to slice the data, division. And they can pull in the month and choose if they want to see it by division by month, month by division, or they can even move it over to the columns for that horizontal view. And as users use this data independently, it increases their data literacy. Now remember, our goal is to multiply ourselves and the ability for our team and our users to interpret the data. So training materials needed to be developed. Some of our training materials include training guides and videos. Now, we try to keep these short. Our training guides are 1 to 2 pages, and they're on single subjects. So like we have one just for how to connect to the model. There's one on just how to use the model, a separate one for tips and tricks or common requests. And our videos are the same. They are 3 to 5 minutes on single subjects. And we wanted to give our very busy staff, we wanted them to feel like they had time to actually watch these videos or review the content, because I can tell you right now, if we handed them a 25-page manual on how to use our self-serve tools, 50% of them would never pick it up. And then, of course, you want to offer flexible tools. Like you saw in the previous video, users will stay more engaged with content that meet their specific needs without relying on BI to customize something for them. And then I also mentioned one-on-one training. And then again, it is so important to keep users empowered by providing training that helps them grow and not feel lost. And then we have our office hours. So we do host regular open Q&A office hours that continue to support our self-serve tools and our long-term reporting. So just to touch a little bit more on our BI office hours, this is open to all users of BI. It's held monthly, and we rotate facilitation between the analyst team. This is a forum for a wide audience. It's held virtually, so anyone can attend. Some just listen every month. And then we have some users who ask great questions, and that even encourages others to speak up. We often solicit ideas and topics from this group. What should we cover? And it's well attended. We get positive feedback. About 200 are invited, and on a given session, maybe 40 or more will attend. We also record and share every single session. Now, in between our meetings, we do continue to welcome questions and offer support through an online forum. And in our office, we use Microsoft Teams. The great thing about this is that the chat and the questions do not just have to be answered by the BI team. The community helps each other. There'll be questions posted, they'll reach out to each other, even offer to connect, and this could be before we even realize that a question was posted. And having this open forum allows teams to share data and insights easily. And it enhances the collaboration of the teams by making sure they're discussing the same exact data sets, which this really helps maintain that consistency across the organization.
So, once we had this group of well-supported users, we started to develop a group of kind of super users. How many of you in the audience have had users or customers that just constantly surprise you with their ability to think analytically and go above and beyond? Our group had several of those users, or actually quite a few. So, what we wanted to do was keep building that data literacy. Even after years of experience in BI, I don't know everything that someone else in the organization might know. So, what if you had a group of lots of people like that who are experienced in different things with analytics, and you all got together to keep each other sharp and ask questions? That is what we did for our community of analytics. Basically, we wanted to foster that curiosity and keep our advanced users growing. So we did hand select these users. We looked for people that are advanced, motivated, positive attitude kind of individuals who have an understanding of statistical and analytical concepts. These are often people that are training others in their data area on BI tools. A lot of those kind of subject matter experts that I talked about earlier. They're acting as a liaison between BI and their department. Basically, they're championing the use of data throughout their department and really the whole organization. So we had a regular meeting with the BI team and those COA members. And the cool thing was, it wasn't just business intelligence that was presenting our analytical ideas and creative thinking. We had lots of individuals like those SMEs that would also present at these meetings. Some of the topics that we had include how can we ensure the organization never gets insights from data? It seems kind of silly at first, but oftentimes we found that defining failure can help you look at what success should look like. So, for example, if you're trying to look at the best way to visualize data, it can help to look at the worst way to visualize data, which was another topic that we had. That topic was actually run by one of our SMEs. So it wasn't a business intelligence person, but instead someone from our continuous improvement team that had years of experience with visualizations. And lastly, we had a topic of solving these riddles, trying to keep that analytical thinking. So we actually want to try that technique today with this audience. So riddles kind of play on assumptions. As we work through the answer, identify what we're assuming and or trying to clarify. You can ask yes or no questions, but the key thing to know is that the process is the important part of this exercise, not just getting the answer. So a few of you may have seen these riddles before, but let's try to focus on the process and the questions. Our first riddle is, a man comes into town on Friday, stays 2 nights, and then leaves on Friday. How is this possible?
So ask us questions.
Yeah, that is correct. Friday is a horse. So, but what was the assumption you made to get to that result? What was the assumption you were making originally if you didn't know that answer?
Yeah.
The man comes out of town on Friday, so I'm just taking the literal word as Friday. This stays 2 nights, which I don't really care about, and leaves on Friday. So I'm like, who's Friday?
That's good. That's impressive thinking. Yeah, so the assumption that you're making here when you read this initially is that Friday is a day. And then you think about it further and you try to clarify, well, obviously Friday isn't a day, so what else could Friday be? You can see that even reading a simple sentence, we're making a ton of assumptions. As a quick side note, if you don't believe that a horse can be named Friday, my cat is actually named Tuesday because he was born on 2/22/22, which is known as Tuesday, right? I wish I had a picture in these slides, but I didn't put one in. So, but tying this back to the analytics that we do, we are making so many assumptions when we analyze data. Imagine you see a metric that's called patient visits by date. That might seem at first like it's patient visits by the date the patient came into the office. But what if instead it's the date that finance processed a charge for that visit, or the date that the visit was scheduled? Those are the kind of assumptions that we are looking for every day, and these kind of riddle exercises help challenge that critical thinking. Let's see, where are we at on time?
Yeah, I don't know. We had a few more.
We have a couple other, yeah.
We have enough time.
I think we'll try to cut it short and just kind of get to the application. That was kind of a long riddle, so it's not too difficult of an answer. But if you really want to know, you can talk to us after.
Yeah, so obviously in addition to them being fun, exercises and riddles can help teach curiosity, not just for data, but for problem solving as well. These kind of exercises sharpen our already curious users, and it keeps us asking questions, which does help build towards that same language between BI and our customers. Now, also similar to how we handle these riddles, we try to not just give our users answers, but instead encourage them to use our self-serve tools to get the answers themselves. Otherwise, they become dependent on us, and what is the purpose then of having self-serve tools? Now, we have on occasion gotten requests, went into our own self-serve tool, saved it to a file, and just handed that back to the requester. But that really stunts their data literacy growth. So instead, we do try to make an effort to guide them through the self-serve tool. We explain things to them, and this is a key point to helping those users reach that understanding foundational pillar of data literacy. And it points out not just what it means, but not just what it says, but what it actually means.
So, I want to point out as we come to the end of this presentation that you don't have to implement all of these strategies in your organization for some of them to be useful. I hope at this point you're thinking, how can I become a data leader and apply these strategies? What might a centralized BI department look like in my organization? How can I get that leadership buy-in to build that data warehouse that my organization, or that enterprise data warehouse, I should say, that my organization so clearly could use? How can I build engagement and empower my users through self-serve tools? And how can I build that data literacy for my advanced users? What COA topics or community of analytics topics could make sense for your organization? You too have the power to become and build a data-driven organization. Thank you. Yeah.
So using Excel as a data source, or sorry, as a BI tool, I'm kind of like wondering, did you ever try Tableau or Power BI? Why particularly Excel?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We use a lot of Power BI as well. The advantage of Excel is that flexibility, that ability to switch things like you're using a pivot table and view things in different ways. Different users like to view things in different ways and understand things differently. Power BI, generally, you can provide some flexibility, but generally you're building it in a certain way with a certain way that you drill down into the information. With Excel, you can kind of flip that information around and look at it in kind of that different ways.
Yeah, the users can choose to connect to the full model, which gives them access to all of our data sets and our tables.
I mean, my second question is because the back end for Excel is usually usually a VB, and how many people in the IT department or you actually know how to use VB?
Sorry, what was that last part?
It's Visual Basic as a back end to generate the tool in.
Yeah.
I mean, who in the IT department, if you have a centralized thing, is going to be spending their time looking through old VB code?
So what we have is a semantic model. So it's like a dimensionally modeled series of tables and views that are combined in SQL Server analysis reporting services or analysis services. And the Excel is connecting to that model of all those different tables and information. There's no Visual Basic code. There's code done in DAX, which is kind of the underlying code for Power BI. So it's in a way similar to being built off a Power BI reports data set. Does that kind of make sense? And
Yeah, that's fine. It's relevant. Yeah, thank you.
yeah. Other questions?
How long are your one-on-one training sessions?
They vary.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on that user. I mean, a lot of times we will maybe schedule an hour. Sometimes we do not go that full hour. And sometimes if it's a very brand new user, we can get someone who is even new to Excel. So it's that they might need a couple sessions, but I think that's really tailored to the individual user and how much they may already know.
And is that provided by someone on your BI team?
Us, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you had some resistance at first from your leadership as far as building the centralized tools and also bringing that organization together. And obviously, getting leadership buy-in is key.
Yes.
What would you say were the key things you did or the key moments where they kind of turned the corner and said, yes, this is a priority that we need to focus on?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, what were kind of the turning points in getting that leadership buy-in? For us, we actually found a single individual leader that was really supportive of the product that we were building and wanting to have that enterprise data warehouse. He has since been promoted multiple times from when he was in that role, giving us our support. Probably not unrelated that he thinks very analytically and then proceeded to get promoted multiple times. But essentially, I think even finding one leader that really supports and really has that excitement about the product you're building can be really helpful. Yeah. Let's start with in the back right there, or left from your perspective.
Obviously, you guys are working in a larger healthcare system with multiple offices, facilities, and whatnot. And obviously, you started with a larger team than, say, a singular person who is overworked and underpaid. How long did the process did the process really take from that initial conceptualization of we need a business intelligence department to obviously not the perfect running machine it is, but being able to get as much of it running as possible with, again, I know you guys have multiple people, but.
Yeah, our self-serve tool, our tabular model was built about like a year or two after business intelligence was founded, and we started working on that data warehouse. So, I mean, things can move pretty quickly when you have that support and it's what you're focusing on. I think the key is you don't have to support all data in the organization from that data warehouse immediately. You kind of can build it piece by piece, and you say, we're going to build out these financial metrics first, and then when leadership sees that and they're like, this is so amazing, we want to see this for HR. You can kind of get that support to add those extra staff to kind of get that snowball rolling, essentially. Does that help?
A little bit. I was just set a timeline because
Yeah.
expect me to get it done in 3 months.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
I'm one person.
that's like,
100 surgery center, and
yup.
no, I can't do that. Give me a couple years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No, we understand that struggle for sure, especially with folks that aren't familiar of all the work and validation it takes to get things to the place that it needs to be to give to a large customer base. So respect to you for dealing with that.
So glad that I hope you guys will be like, hey, so I get to Trinity.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to extend the timeline a little bit for that purpose, feel free to do so. All right. And then I think we had one more over here.
For the Excel, how do the visualizations get made off of that? Is that something you guys leave up to the user? Is that something you help them with?
Yeah, I think there is some pivot chart functionality within Excel off of that tabular model, but generally we do use Power BI for our visualizations. So in a lot of cases, we'll build a Power BI report where the source is the same source as what you're seeing in Excel, and then we're building the visualizations off of that. So the flexibility there is not always with the visualization piece. That's often done more by our staff, gathering user requirements and making sure that we're getting them the kind of visuals they need. Yeah.
Do you have staff that are non-technical users using Power BI Desktop or the online version to build their own visualizations?
Great question. You can.
Yeah, well, we have a few people outside of our department. We have someone in continuous improvement that does it. Is that the only department?
We have some financial users that have
Okay,
built their own
yeah.
reports too.
But generally, it's the BI department.
Yeah, we try not to let users that are not super technical build with that reporting, because we want to keep those metric definitions consistent. So we want to say that this is the metric that we defined for patient access, and we coded it this way for a reason that was given by our leadership. And we don't really want individual users in a department saying, well, my practice doesn't do things this way, so we're going to try to make a different metric. We want everything to be kind of compared apples to apples. In the back.
How do you convince one of your urgent customer who is stick to their old method, just doing it that way, presenting the new technology and stuff? They want to do it download, do it their own stuff, but you show them the same thing, the end results are the same thing, but then they don't agree to do it the new fashioned way and kind of
I think a lot of it helps with the expectations that our leadership puts on the staff. to use the tools that we have presented. A lot of the people in our BI office hours, like I mentioned, are brand new. They've never seen any of these tools, but leadership is really promoting the use of these tools for us. And it looks like we are at the end of time.
So we are around the conference the whole day for additional questions. We're happy to talk to anyone who might have them. So
Yes.
thank you so very much for attending, and I hope you all have a great day.